The biggest lie that we're fed as photographers. Some of us reject this lie. Some of us pretend it doesn't affect them. But most of us, we feed it to ourselves. And while we do this, I'm gonna draw a bunch of cats on this paper without looking. Also, we're in a converted water tower in Iceland. Weird, right? I got started in concert photography on a 3.2 megapixel Canon point and shoot. I was a teenager and my dream was to get a DSLR. I could not afford it. I was making no money in concert photography, so no justification to buy a camera. I was making a little bit of money doing micro stock photography. This is really challenging, by the way. Here's the first one. Beautiful, right? In micro stock photography, my self-portrait of myself with an English muffin full of Canadian $5 bills was my personal favorite upload to those websites. Oh, and it's been used by legitimate news agencies. I don't know how to draw the front of a cat. Like that. I knew that if I just got that DSLR, that I would go Mr. Full-Time Pro Photographer immediately. Then a funny thing happened. On that Canon 3.2 megapixel point and shoot, American Idol purchased one of my concert images. It was for sale on iStock Photo, and they went for the extended licensing deal, which means I made a cool $90 US, so that's like $130 Canadian. This was also in 2003, when American Idol was everything. And that photo that they spent $90 on, they put it up on billboards in LA and New York, but I never got to see them because I was a normal kid and not one of the cool ones that moved to a big city. In fact, I was afraid of big cities until I was like 20. The first time I went to New York, I tucked all my money into my sock, where it was immediately pickpocketed by a rat. Not just a normal rat, a big rat, the Rat King they called him. Oh, this one's done. Okay, the Rat King part isn't true. Wow. But I did stick my money in my sock the first time I went to New York City. Next cat. I shot another 2 years with this point and shoot, and I was sick of it holding me back. I needed to go pro, and I needed to get a DSLR. I'm feeling good about this one. And then one day, I finally got a DSLR. The 6.1 megapixel D50 with a 50mm f1.8. Memory cards were expensive, so I could only shoot JPEG with it. But wow, was I ready to go pro now. Then, you'll never guess what happened. Oh, you already know? Nothing happened. No guiding force descended upon me and pulled me into paying gigs. But a big change, I was now able to take images with really shallow depth of field. What's up now? The people, they still weren't paying me for photos, but they liked them a lot more, and I started receiving more band t-shirts than ever before. The number of people using my images as their MySpace display photos was off the charts. And it was all because of this shallow depth of field, and life was good. And that's great. Because I was an introverted human being that liked computer games, stayed in my basement, and now I was getting invites to hang out with cool people after shows and go to their houses. On a side note, I was very socially uncomfortable with hanging out with cool people, but when I had a camera in my hand, it made me feel okay. There was some sort of mutual understanding that although I wasn't cool enough to be there, because I had a camera and provided value and served a purpose, they kept me around and I kept getting the invites. That one's quite similar to the first one I did. And now, thanks to my new camera, my life really started to change. Then the worst happened. I'm kidding. I just felt like it was time to play with the story arc a little bit. All right, big cat face. What did happen though, is I felt like I hit a plateau. I don't know if you've ever felt like that my photography wasn't getting any better, that every week was kind of the same with no progression. I thought back to the last time that I had felt progression, and it was the week surrounding the purchase of that Nikon D50 digital SLR. Well, out loud, I said that gear doesn't make you better. It's not what I actually believed. I saw the jump in quality with my new camera, and I needed it again. It was time for a new lens. This time it was going to cost more than my camera. It was the Nikon, you guessed it, 10.5mm fisheye, APS-C fisheye. With this fisheye, I knew I was going to the next level. Finally, those paying jobs, they start to come in. I'll frame this one for you if you want. But then, it turns out there's not a huge market for the fisheye. We're going landscape mode for this one. While I did enjoy taking photos with it, it didn't book me any more work. So guess what I did? I bought a Tokina 11 to 16mm lens. And now I was well on my way to trying to buy my photography skills rather than cultivating them. Then something incredible happened. I saved up over $1,000 and I picked up my first 85mm f1.4 lens for portraits, and wow, I really was taking professional photos now. I saw an incredible boost in the quality of my photography, and now as long as I could find good light, I could take really incredible pictures. It felt a little bit like cheating. Looking back, I think I attributed a lot of my skill to that single 85mm f1.4 lens. Realistically, I could have taken some pretty similar images with that 50mm f1.8 that I got with my camera originally, but I think on some level I wanted to believe that the gear that I bought paid off by making me a better photographer and that it was money well spent. Then I made this a pretty core belief, whether I should have or not. I always wanted to believe that new gear was always the answer. Not booking work, don't invest in marketing. This one's done. Just buy a new lens. In a creative rut, new camera. That'll solve everything. I think we all know that gear isn't the answer to all of our problems in photography, but it sure feels nice to get. To add to that, there's also social pressure. Early on when I looked around town and I saw other photographers booking more work than me, for some reason, my brain associated some of their success with the brand that they shot. And while maybe this is something that mattered for real in 2010, this isn't something that still matters today. But for whatever reason, I am tempted to try whatever gear a successful photographer is shooting. I shot with prisms for a while when I first found out about Sam Hurd, and it wasn't for me. Now, to really solidify gear being the answer to all of our problems, companies have massive marketing budgets for new gear. There are hundreds of people that sit in rooms and figure out how to convince us that we need to buy more cameras. Sure, there are times when it actually does improve ease of use or your image quality, but most of the time, we really don't need new gear. I'm part of the problem on this on both sides here on YouTube, so maybe I'm a bit hypocritical even talking about this. I'm the one with the new cameras in my hands talking about how great they are. Using these new cameras and lenses also gets me to buy them a lot of the time. Side note here, reviewers usually you don't get to keep the stuff that companies send to you. So now the lie that we're all fed is that we always need new gear when it's actually rarely the case. Almost 100% of the time, that money is better spent on marketing to book more jobs rather than hoping your clients notice that you've upgraded from the f1.8 to the f1.4 and they like their photos better and they tell more of their friends. We feed this lie to ourselves and the industry feeds this lie to us. And we're not always hungry, just like these cats, because I forgot mouths on a lot of them. My hope is, for you and I, that we can push back against some of this fear of missing out with gear, be happy with what we have, and know that gear is rarely the solution to the problem. That is the lie. Thanks for watching, and thanks for the cats. Oh, and if you're a wedding photographer and you want to learn all the things that I know, I've recorded them all. I just put out Advanced Wedding Photography Marketing 2023. Members have access to it, as well as $3,500 worth of other content, like my presets and hundreds of more videos. Check that out in the link below in the description. These cats, I'm gonna frame them all in this weird water tower Airbnb.